Okay, we're at 3:59, and again, this is Eric Anderton. Welcome to the webinar, and we're going to get started just 1 minute early because you know what they say, if you're 1 minute early, you might be late. And today what we're going to talk about is how to bridge the generational gap and secure your company's future. And this is a great topic because we're going to talk about how to attract, develop, and retain millennials. And in that process, I'm going to be going through this 7-step process. And you might wonder why we can, or how we can get through 7 steps in 60 minutes, and the fact is we can't. But we're going to be looking at 3 or 4 of these steps and really diving into them, and I'm going to provide you at the end of the workshop with a comprehensive program of 8 exercises that you can use immediately with your executive team to really dive into this process of not only attracting, but then also developing and retaining millennials. So stick around to the end of the workshop. That'll be my gift to you. And you'll also get a full copy of the slides from the workshop. So let's take a little bit of time to define what we mean by millennials and this various generations that we're in. The millennials are basically aged age 18 to 33, born anytime between about 1980 and really about 2000. You got your Gen Xers. I'm a part of the Gen X generation. You got your baby boomers, and then you got your silent generation. Okay, and whenever it comes to generations, it seems like every generation has this perspective. Here's a great quote from George Orwell. Each generation imagines itself to be more intelligent than the one that went before it and wiser than the one that comes after it. I don't know if you've ever found that to be true, but because of this, and this is just a statement on human nature, because we, as each generation thinks it's more intelligent than the one that went before and wiser than the one that comes after it, it creates a lot of conflict and challenge that we're going to be discussing as we go through the process. And the reason why this is important today is, here's a little chart here as far as the U.S. labor force. This is from the Pew studies. The millennial workforce today is about 53.5% of the workforce. In 2030, it's going to be 75%. And so right now we're in a mixture of generations, and so most workplaces now have a combination of the boomers and the older Gen Xers who are in the senior executive leadership roles. And then you've got the millennials who are the up-and-comers, the folks between 20 and 35 right now that are having a significant impact in your organization. And if you're a boomer or a late Gen Xer, you probably have a lot of challenges as far as communicating with them and going through those whole processes. And so that's what we're going to dive into today. A little bit about me. My background from an academic, nonprofit, and a business perspective kind of gives me some unique insight into this whole issue of intergenerational communication. As far as my academic background is concerned, I have a bachelor's degree in history. I've studied intensively in ancient history as well as modern American and European history. So I love to make connections between the past and today. I have over 20 years of experience working in nonprofit organizations with 15 years of that experience leading and mentoring millennials. And then I have over 20 years of business experience in sales, marketing, leadership development, strategic planning, meeting facilitation, and public speaking. As far as my business is concerned, I have 2 main emphases in my business. The first is the construction profit blueprint. I have over 12 years experience working with the owners, the executives, and the leadership teams of construction companies, helping them with strategic planning, team building, and leadership development. And then the Profitable Business Forum is a forum for CEOs and business owners in Northern California, and we meet on a monthly basis, and it's exclusively focused on succession planning, exit planning, and intergenerational leadership. So if you think about your business, as I've worked with folks over the years, I really help them as far as building a profitable business is concerned from the perspective of clarifying their purpose, defining the personality or the values that drive their business, choosing the right people that line up with their purpose and their personality, building clear strategic plans, and then executing priorities. And that's how you build a profitable business. As far as my personal style is concerned, I kind of talk fast. We're going to go through a lot of information right here in the next few minutes, so hang with me. If you have questions, feel free to ask them. Feel free to raise your hand or to chat the question into the chat box. If I miss your question for some reason, I promise to go back over the chat after the webinar and get back to you personally. I like to say dude a lot when I get excited. One of my clients tried to find me every time I said dude, but I wouldn't let him do that. And here are some of the folks that I work with as far as their strategic planning and their team building is concerned. So a variety of people from nonprofits to fast food restaurants to a variety of construction companies. And this is what some of my clients have to say. Sean Cook of Cook Engineering, the strategic planning format you introduced is terrific. We've clearly articulated the purpose of our business, the values that drive our actions, and how Cook Engineering is going to be successful. We now have a straightforward, repeatable process to plan and take action. And Cook Engineering is on track to achieving the highest revenue and profit figures in more than 5 years. You've made a significant contribution to that success. So that's what Sean Cook has to say. I've worked with folks like Quincy Engineering, also the Metro Chamber here in the greater Sacramento area. And as we dive into the workshop here, I want to make sure that you're paying attention. So give yourself permission right now to focus for the next 60 minutes. Put away everything else you might be working on. Really take time to think through these processes, because the things I'm going to be sharing with you are extremely significant, and they're going to have a massive impact upon your organization in the years to come. Okay? So, good question to ask us as we go through this. Who are the millennials? Who are the millennials? Well, 80 million of them are in the United States at the moment. They grew up with technology. This is the one thing that separates them really from a lot of from the other generations, right? They grew up with technology. They aspire to make a difference with their work. We're going to be diving into that. When you compare them to other generations, they're less religious and they're less patriotic, but they still have deep, deep desires to make an impact. They're very confident. They have high expectations, and they're achievement orientated. And the reason why this topic is so important to you as a business owner or a business leader is that your future depends upon them. Particularly if you're a baby boomer. If you're here today and you're between 45 and 60, you have got to go through the process of thinking through how to attract, develop, and retain millennials. 3 signs that you need this workshop today. Number 1, you're complaining. And this is what really inspired me to start to think through this and put together this workshop, is I heard from my clients, they were complaining, particularly my baby boomer clients, about the millennial generation. Now, I understand that there's always differences between generations, and like George Orwell said, we think we're smarter, we think we're wiser, but I want to encourage you, if you are complaining about millennials at the moment, you really need to stop. Okay, because if you continue to complain about them and you don't think through how you could attract, develop, and retain them, you're going to have a shallow bench. In your organization, you're going to really struggle to bring in the right people to fill positions in your company to move it forward. And if you're experiencing a talent drain, if millennials have been leaving your company, and you might say, well, come on, Eric, they always leave companies, right? They only stick around for 3 to 5 years and then they take off. Why should I bother investing in them? Let me encourage you. The very best people will stick with a company that has clear purpose, clear values, really gives them an incentive to stick with them over a long period of time. And so if you're experiencing a talent drain, you need to be here on this workshop today. Because if you don't do these things, it's going to cost you tons of time and tons of money. You're going to be spending much of your energy and effort putting square pegs into round holes, and then you'll be unprepared when disaster hits. And really, what's hitting, right? Think about this. Time is passing by. If you own or lead an organization, at some point, you're either going to want to sell your business, retire from your business, or maybe back out of it a little bit. If you don't have millennials in place to take the reins and move it forward, it's going to have a massive impact upon your retirement, upon your financial success, upon your peace of mind. But if you do deal with this issue, then what you're going to get is the opportunity to pass the baton. Pass it on to the next generation, get the right people on the right seats in the bus, moving your company forward, and as a result of that, you'll be able to avoid many of the challenges that businesses are facing, because as they get older, the leaders of the organization don't have people coming up behind them to take their place and move the business forward. Okay? So, during the training today, we're going to dive into the 7-step process. We'll dive into some of the parts more than others, so hang with me through that. But regardless, you're going to get that workbook at the end that will help you to move forward as far as developing your talent. Okay? So during the training, you're going to learn how to attract millennials. You're going to learn how to develop them. I'm going to give you 3 strategies and 2 tools to evaluate and develop your people. And I'm also going to share with you a strategy for retaining your people. Okay, you need to be able to not only attract and develop them, but you need to retain them. And it's a challenge for millennials because they do like to move around a lot. They're not like boomers who go into an organization and have the perspective, I'm going to stay here for 20, 30, 40 years. There's exceptions, of course, but you've got to be able to do your best to retain those folks over time. And then also at the end, what I'm going to do is share one secret with you as far as looking for the best millennial talent. And I think this is one of the keys to making sure that you bring on the right people and put them in the right position. And then at the end of the webinar today, at the end of the training, I'm going to show you how you can get more help if you'd like to. Okay, so as we dive in here, for the next few minutes, I want you to adopt a winning mindset. And this is something that you can take with you as you go through your business life. Number one, I want you to drop the mask, okay? Sticking your head in the sand is not a good business strategy. Be objective about the struggles that you have. If you're a complainer about the millennials, you need to say so. If you're not doing a good job bringing in talent in order to fill the bench, you need to be able to be willing to admit that. So first, be objective about the struggles that you have. Get real. Drop the mask. Step two, I want you to ditch the dude. Okay? Don't be cocky. Don't think that you know it all. If you hear something today that you've heard before, ask yourself how well you're currently using and applying it in your business. Okay? You're here today. You're spending an hour of your time to get ideas to drive your business forward. So if you hear something that you've heard before, just ask yourself, how well am I using and applying it in my business? And then step three, kill the bear. Now this little still here is from the movie The Edge with Alec Baldwin and with Anthony Hopkins. And basically what it is two guys against the bear. And either the bear is going to kill them or they're going to kill the bear. And let me say this, you've got bears in your business, right? You have issues and challenges that are either going to overwhelm you or you're going to get victory over them. And as far as killing the bear is concerned, let me give you this one phrase that Anthony Hopkins mentioned during the movie, and that is this. What one person can do, another person can do. You may be faced with a bear that you don't think you can kill. I want to encourage you, you can kill the bear. What one person can do, another person can do. You can attract, develop, and retain millennials. You can build the business of your dreams, but you need to have the right attitude as far as that's concerned. So, I've been talking quite a lot here, so I want to open it up. You can chat this into the message box here. What is the purpose of your business? Anyone want to respond to that? What is the purpose of your business? All right, Fernando, to help owners achieve their parking goals. Right on. Okay. Thank you, Fernando. Who else? What is the purpose of your business? Why are you in business? All right, Aaron, we exist to improve every environment we touch. Excellent. Excellent. So isn't that great? There's real aspirations to help others succeed at theirs. Thank you, Kevin. Very good. To help others succeed in their businesses. That's excellent. Let me give you this little breakdown here. I love this pyramid. It was inspired by a gentleman named Marshall Goldsmith. And what he says is that the bottom of most entrepreneurs' pyramids, as far as business is concerned, is money. And, whenever you talk about money as far as business is concerned, some people get a little freaked out about that. But I want to say this. If you're making money in your business, I think that's absolutely awesome. In a free market society where you are offering legitimate products and services, it's difficult to get people to give you money. And the fact that they're giving you money is an indication that you are benefiting them. And if they do it on an ongoing basis, that is totally awesome. So making money is a great thing as far as a business is concerned. The next rung on this pyramid, or the next level, is this idea of power. And let me explain to you what I mean by that. When I say power, I mean freedom. One of the great things about owning your own business, running your own business, being involved in senior leadership, it gives you power or freedom or authority as far as who you associate with, what you do with your time, what you do with your life. Another area is recognition. Recognition, think about it. I work with construction guys, right? And they love to drive down the freeway, nudge their friend in their truck, point at a building and say, I built that. And that's the wonderful thing about being in business also, is that you get the recognition of the fact that if you're providing value to people, you're having a massive positive impact upon their lives. So money, power, and recognition are real motivators that are legitimate. Now, another series of legitimate motivations are these: being a role model, building a great company, and then leaving a lasting legacy. And really, that's what we're talking about here when we're talking about attracting, developing, and retaining talent. If you're going to attract the best talent, you've got to be a great role model. And building a great company is one of the funnest things to do in life. Just imagine the massive positive impact you have on others as you build and are involved in great companies. And then this idea of leaving a legacy. Again, with my construction company clients, they love to say, I built that, because what they build is something that's going to last for a long period of time. And whether you build structures that last for a long period of time or provide services or whatever the case is, you can leave a lasting legacy as far as the positive impact you've had upon other people. So the question is how is this going to happen? How are you going to be able to achieve that in your organization? How do you think it is that you can have that massive positive impact? Well, I'd like to say it's all about your talent. It's all about the talent that you have in your organization and your ability to attract, develop, and retain the best talent. Now, as far as attracting talent is concerned, culture is king. And I'm going to share that with you here today. I'm going to insist that if you want the best people working in your organization, you must be the best person. You must be the best company in order to attract the best people. As far as developing talent is concerned, you have an opportunity to tap in to the very best of human nature. And then as far as retaining talent, I want you to keep this in mind. There's one thing you walk away with today. People don't quit companies. They quit their leaders and their managers. Okay? They quit their leaders and their managers. So let me ask you another question. Which one is the most important as far as these are concerned? What do you think? Which are the most important? Just chat that into the box, or you can put it into your questions. What is the most important? Attracting, developing, or retaining talent? What would you say? Retaining, developing, retaining. Thank you, Kevin. Julie, developing. Yeah. Retaining. Thanks, Mike. Attracting, developing. Thank you, Twyla. Attracting. Thank you, Tim. Okay. I'd like to say this. It's kind of an obvious answer, perhaps, but really they all are. They're all very, very important. And think about them. Think about this. They're all very difficult. They're all very challenging, but really, it's really what your business is all about. The strength of your business is a reflection of you and the talent that you bring into your organization. And that's why this 7-step process is so important. So step 1 is getting leadership buy-in. And if you're in leadership in your organization, you know how important it is to get the executives and the owners and the leaders of businesses bought into any kind of attraction, developing, and retention program. Step 2, we're going to talk about future casting. Step 3, you've got to get clarity as far as your purpose and your personality. Step 4, you need to take a talent inventory and think about the current performance of folks in your organization and their future potential. Step 5, you need to put together a talent development plan. Step 6, you got to train to narrow the gap. And step 7, you got to evaluate the results, and then you go right back up to step 1. So this is a constant process, right? In business, there's no magic pills. There's no quick fixes. This is hard work, but this is the stuff of business and the stuff of life. So what you want to ask yourself is, where are you strong? Where are you weak? And where do you need to focus? Okay, where are you strong? Where are you weak? And where you need to focus? Now, we're going to dive right into step 2, which is the future cast. Okay, one of the reasons you're on this webinar is to go through step 1 to get everyone on the same page. So when you're future casting, and you're going to get an exercise in the workbook that has all of this laid out in detail. So take good notes, but don't worry if you don't catch everything. You want to ask yourself this: what trends are evident in your external environment that are going to impact your business? Then you've got to ask yourself, how is your company going to respond? And the third thing you've got to ask is, what will the future impact be on the organization of your responses to the trends? Okay, you've got to think in your organization at least 12 to 60 months out on a regular basis. Now you act 30 to 90 days out, but you think 12 to 60 months out. That's what the best business leaders do. Okay, so let's think about trends. In your organization, what trends outside are most likely to affect you in the next 1 to 5 years? So think about this for a moment. Consider the economic conditions, the market conditions, the financial conditions, the regulatory conditions. Okay, what about technology? What about social conditions? That's why we're on the webinar here today. One of the massive changes that is happening is the millennial generation is coming into its own. 75% of the workforce by 2030. That's a huge social change that you have to get ready for and that you have to really handle well. Okay, so once you think about the trends, then what you're going to do is ask yourself, what's my response going to be? Okay, so for each one of those trends, how's that going to impact your business? What functions or positions in the company are most likely to be affected, right? How do you think those functions or positions should be affected? What needs to be changed? How should workflow change? How should work methods change? Should the company structure change? These are all things that you need to think about. Now, if you're like a hamster in a wheel running around in your business trying to get things done every single day, you're going to have a challenging time thinking through this. And that's exactly why you need to do things like take a retreat with your executive leadership team on a regular basis, at least once or twice a year, and ask yourself, what does the future hold? Because once you've thought about your responses, then what you need to go through is the impact it's going to have in your organization. What's your best guess of how the company will be functioning in 1 to 5 years? It's not crucial that you get the answers right, okay? Getting them correct and nailing them is not the main thing here. The main thing is going through the process of thinking. The more you think through where your business is going, the more able you will be to respond to it, respond to the changes that happen in any kind of business environment. So again, you've got to think about those trends, those responses, and the impact that's going to have on your organization. So as you're future casting, and again, you'll get an exercise that you can go through with your leadership team. I encourage you, take the exercise that I give you at the end of the workshop and make sure that you do a retreat with your folks, even if it's just a half a day in the next 30 days, and go through the future casting exercise. Because what you want to talk about after you've done that is how you're going to attract, develop, and retain millennial talent, because I promise you, they are in your future. So the question is, how is it that you're going to attract, develop, and retain millennials? As far as attracting is concerned, what do they want? This is one of the issues between generations, and it's a funny thing, right? There are many superficial differences between generations, and there's some differences that are less superficial. Some of the superficial differences, obviously, they are fashion, their music, their perhaps tastes in food. Those are our superficial differences. But let's take a look at some of the differences between the different generations that you may find quite interesting. Let's look at some of these job characteristics that are important. Now, this was a survey that was done back in 2011. And you see here that the way that millennials look at their work is like this. Earnings are very important to them. Okay, earnings are important. Creativity is important. Doing interesting work is important. You notice that advancement and seeing results is not as important to them. Now that's interesting, isn't it? So they may not be quite as outwardly ambitious as perhaps someone from Generation X or a baby boomer is concerned. And they may not be focused so much on results, which can be a challenge. That gives you some indication as to how you need to teach them to look at business so that they can be focused on those results. But they do make a big emphasis on earnings, on being creative, and doing interesting work. Now, I want to make this emphasis, and I really take this from my academic background. I've spent years studying different historical periods, and I know this one thing. People are very, very similar across all generations and across all ages. Yes, I know there's differences. There are differences in values and outlooks and perspectives, but in essence, human beings are human beings. And what those folks want, those free agents out there, millennial free agents who you are looking to attract, they want the same things that you want. It may be expressed differently. The intensity of their wanting may be different, but they want money. They want power. They want recognition. They want to be a role model. They want to build a great company, and they want to leave a legacy. This is what people want. This is what it means essentially to be a human being, is to do something of meaning and have an impact upon the world and be recognized for that. Okay? So when you're attracting, developing, and retaining millennial talent, as far as attracting talent is concerned, culture is king. And you need to be absolutely clear on the purpose and the values or the personality that drives your organization. Like I said earlier, millennials are less religious and patriotic, but they are no less human, and they're looking for purpose and meaning in their lives. And there are lots of words used to describe the millennial generation, and one of those terms is fearless. And they are fearless. And what I mean by that is this: they're willing to commit to something if they see clearly that the purpose and the values of the organization line up with their purpose and values. But there's a problem here. You know what the problem is? Many companies are fuzzy on the purpose and the values that drive their organization. And that leads to a lack of ability to attract the very best people. If someone asked you, what is the purpose of your business and the values that drive you, how would you respond? Let's take a look at a couple of different examples of that. Look at Walmart. Walmart, they exist for this reason, to give ordinary folks the chance to buy the same things as rich people. Now, you may never shop at Walmart. That may not float your boat, right? But that is something that drives them. Whenever you're thinking about the purpose of your business, it must be true to you. It must resonate with you as the leader and as a part of the executive team of your organization. Look at Nike here. This is Nike's reason for existing: to experience the emotion of competition, winning, and crushing competitors. This is their stated reason for existing. Again, you might find that offensive, this idea of crushing competition, but this is what drives them. And I really think that you as a business leader need to get absolutely clear on the purpose of your organization. Let me give you some examples from my clients. One of my clients says this: they're a family-run business. We exist for the enjoyment we get from problem solving with the people we love and accomplishing things. Isn't that awesome? Another one of my businesses, these guys are made up of millennials. They like to create, disrupt, and transform wherever there's an opportunity. Create, disrupt, and transform. Another one of my clients, they went right along with Nike, and their purpose is to crush competitors. And this is a business made up of millennials, it's made up of Gen Xers, and it's made up of baby boomers, but they all agree on one thing: we want to win. We want to crush our competitors. And that's a very good thing. Okay, that's a very, very positive thing. And what they mean by that is this: if we're crushing our competitors, it means we're doing a great job for our clients. And if you're in business, you know how important that is. Now, the problem as far as values are concerned is we all talk about honesty and integrity and excellence and community, and really it's a bunch of blah, blah, blah as far as values are concerned. One of the things you need to get very good at is identifying the DNA of your organization. What is true to you as far as the values are concerned. So let me give you some examples from my clients. Number one of their core values: do more than expected. Another client: put in more reps, stay out in front, fire in the belly. And then another client, their core value is no hacks. They're a construction company, right? And they're out on the job site, and if things are going badly, they look at someone from another company and say, oh, that guy's a hack, right? And in their business, they want no hacks. They want high quality work done. So you think about this. They're crystal clear on the purpose of their business, and they're crystal clear on the values or the personality of their business. Ask yourself this: are you crystal clear on those two things? Because if you're not, how can you articulate them to the people in your organization? How can you give them a deeper reason to stay with you other than just getting a paycheck? How is it that when you interview someone, you can't cause them to aspire to something higher than just, coming into work and, kind of going through the motions? You need to be absolutely clear on these things, because ultimately culture is king. Culture trumps money in the end. Now, money is important, right? But all things being equal, culture will trump money. And the very best free agents are looking for a place to contribute, to belong, and to really make a huge impact, okay? So as you're going through it, know that culture is king. You've got to be clear on your purpose, your personality, and then you'll be able to attract the people who can then build the plans and execute the priorities that are going to enable you to run a profitable business. So we talked about future casting. We talked about being clear on your purpose and personality. Now we want to talk about developing and retaining your people in your organization. And for that, I want to give you an analogy from an organization that is packed with millennials, Gen Xers, and baby boomers. You think, where can I find a company that is highly competitive, that is driven to succeed, driven to perform, and it's full of Generation Xers, it's full of baby boomers and millennials? Well, the answer to that is the San Francisco Giants. Now, if you're not a baseball fan, forgive me. This is an analogy, and I think it works really, really well. The San Francisco Giants, this is their infield. Their catcher, Buster Posey, first base, second base, shortstop, and third base. Okay? Now, these guys are all millennials. They're all millennials. Their manager is a baby boomer, and they have Gen Xers in the organization in leadership roles as well. Okay? Buster Posey, he was the can't miss. Okay? He was the can't miss prospect. He came out of Florida State, and he's made a massive impact on the organization. Sometimes we're able to find those folks. Isn't that great when you know this person's going to be a can't-miss type of person? Then you have someone like Brandon Crawford. Okay, Brandon Crawford's a shortstop, and when he came to the organization, he had one elite skill, and that was his defense. But over the years, he's developed into a very good hitter. And when you're thinking about developing and retaining talent in your organization, think about how someone who is excellent at one thing can become excellent in another skill that perhaps isn't as related, if you have the right type of person in your organization that you can develop over time. Last year, he won a Silver Slugger Award and a Gold Glove, which indicated that he was the best at his position, both defensively and offensively. But he developed over time. Then you got this guy, Brandon Belt. Now, this guy is interesting. He's a very talented baseball player, but he's kind of awkward looking. He has a nickname of the Baby Giraffe. And the organization struggled to kind of fit him into the higher echelons of the organization and the baseball team over time. And they had guys playing first base that sometimes, sort of hindered his development. They're what I call the old dogs. And in your organization, as far as developing talent is concerned, beware of the old dogs. Now, if you're one of the old dogs, don't misunderstand me. Your job as an old dog is not to suppress the new dogs, but is to help bring them up and develop their talent, okay? And then you have someone like Joe Panik. Now, Joe Panik was a relatively high draft pick, but he struggled early on as far as contributing to the major league team, and the team had to show patience with him. And they even tried someone named Dan Ugla at second base, which really didn't work out that well. And so you've got to avoid being impatient with people that you know are very talented, but may need just a little more time to develop. You need clear plans in place to help them address the challenges they have and then develop them as they move along. And then you have this guy, Matt Duffy. Now, Matt Duffy is what I call a surprise. Okay, your first impression of Matt Duffy is he's just a utility man. He was a low draft pick. But the mentorship that he received specifically from a guy named Casey McGee, who he replaced as the starting third baseman, had a massive impact on his life. And so I want to encourage you to make sure you have mentorship programs in place for developing that millennial talent. And really what you need to do also is have reverse mentoring programs in place. Because you think about what millennials bring to the table. They are so technologically savvy and so savvy as far as social media and other means of communication is concerned. They come to the table with skills that can actually benefit your business right away, that they can actually mentor the late Gen Xers and the baby boomers in as far as using communication and social media in a more effective way. So, what do these guys all have in common? What they have in common, besides being a bunch of scruffy-looking white guys, is that they're all homegrown. They're all drafted by the Giants organization. They're all developed in the organization. And it's a great example of how you can take homegrown talent and develop and retain them if you have the right perspective and if you make a real commitment to that. Okay, so as far as developing and retaining, here are some strategies. Number one, get everyone a Yoda. You've got to get everyone a Yoda. You've got to allow the old dogs to mentor folks, not suppress them, and you've got to focus on the skills that they need in order to upgrade themselves and the contribution that they make to the organization. You've got to be an expert at painting a picture of the future. The future as far as their involvement in the company. If you're afraid that you're going to make a great investment as far as training is concerned, and then they're going to leave and go somewhere else, I tell you, you got to lay that aside. Don't be afraid to invest in people. They may leave. That's okay. Be the type of person that makes investment in your people and paint a picture for the future as far as their involvement in the organization. And then you've got to give them recognition. Recognition is essential. When was the last time you went up to one of the millennials in your company, looked him in the eye, and said, I want to thank you. I want to thank you for the contribution that you're making to the organization. Communication is essential. And really with communication, you know how millennials are very, very comfortable with social media. And if you're not comfortable with social media, you need to get comfortable. I'll give you an example. The Warriors, the Golden State Warriors, the players have their own personal chat room that they use to communicate with one another. And this is what millennials do. They use online tools to communicate all the time. Different applications, different means of communication. And I encourage you, try a quick hit approach with millennials instead of meeting individually with them. Send them a good job instant message when they complete a project. Ask them in person how their week is going. Or simply make sure that you say, thanks for stepping up when we needed you. Because if you're going to develop and retain millennials, you've got to always understand that they are people very similar to you in many ways. They want the money, they want the power, they want the recognition, they want an opportunity to step into being a role model, they want to be involved in building a great company, and they do want to leave a legacy. Okay, so we want to take a real look now into developing and retaining them, and I'm going to give you some tools here. Keep in mind, you're going to get these in your package at the end, but these are a couple of tools that you can use to really think through developing and retaining people in your organization. Use a talent rank. So here we have a talent rank. It's very simple, right? You've got people with performance on the left, potential on the top. You've got people who are high performers and low performers. And you've got people who have high potential and low potential. You've got stars, workhorses, question marks, and deadwood. Every organization has these folks. Every organization does. Your job as a leader in your company is to think through how you rank the talent, the millennial talent that you have in your organization. So as far as your stars are concerned, you want to keep their turnover low, and you want to take steps to accelerate their development. One of the ways to really make sure you're retaining talent in your business is to develop that talent. Give them a reason to stick around. Give them some aspiration as far as growth is concerned. As far as your workhorses are concerned, keep that turnover low and keep them motivated and productive where they are. It's okay to have workhorses in a business. It's okay to have, so to speak, a one-trick pony, someone who's good at accounting and accounting only, but they're very good at it. So keep those people engaged. As far as your question marks are concerned, right, you want to convert them to stars if possible. You want to mentor them to accelerate their development. If they're a question mark, you want to get the question answered. The question you're always asking is this: is this person someone who's going to be in the organization in the next year or 2 or 3? Do I want them in my company for the near future and for the next 3 to 5 years? If you don't want them in your company, if you're thinking I should have fired them 6 months ago, why are they still there? Okay, make sure you go through that process. And then you've got your deadwood. Okay, with the deadwood, you want to convert them to workhorses. And if you can't convert them to workhorses, then you need to terminate them. But the point is this: go through each person in your organization and rank them. Put their initials. You see, I got the initials in here in various places. You want to rank where people are so that you can begin to then think through how you're going to develop them. Okay, and you're going to get a worksheet to be able to do this at the end of the webinar. So you want to be able to take a talent inventory. You want to evaluate a couple of key individuals from the talent rank exercise. So once you rank them and identify people with potential, you need to do more thinking around what it's going to take for them to be successful. So I'll give you an example here. For instance, if you're in construction and you have a project manager role, there's functional competencies that a project manager needs to be able to do, and then there's leadership competencies, right? There's the technical and the people side of the equation, so to speak. What you want to do is you want to rank them as far as the functional and the leadership competencies are concerned. So if you have a bunch of project managers in your organization, you can list them out on the left side of this graph, for instance, and then you can put the functional competencies and leadership competencies, and then you can give them the green light, the yellow light, or the red light. The green light is they're exceeding standards, the yellow light is they're at standard, and the red light is they need development. This is a great visual tool. And if you haven't done this with people in your organization yet, you need to do it. You need to sit down and think about what are the functional competencies, what are the leadership competencies, list those on the left side, give them a red, a yellow, or a green. This can help you as far as developing the people in your organization. Okay? So, step 1, we got the leadership buy-in. Step 2, the future cast. Step 3, the clarity as far as purpose and personality. Step 4, the talent inventory. And then step 5, you got to get a talent development plan in place. You've got to be able to bridge the gap between where they are and where you would like them to be. Okay? So, this is one way to do it. And again, you're going to get this in your workbook. On the left side of a sheet, put down the activities, responsibilities, duties, tasks, or job functions to which the individual needs exposure in order to qualify for advancement. If you've got someone in your company and you're thinking, man, I think in the next 3 years, this person could be a key leader in our organization, you need to start thinking through exactly what you have to do in order to develop them. And you need to set down specific and measurable learning objectives for that individual. And once you've got those learning objectives down, and once you've got you've really thought through what they need to do, then you can put together an individual development plan. Okay, and you're going to get a wonderful sheet in the booklet at the end here that's going to give you that development plan. It's totally awesome here. So these are the questions you want to ask. What key positions should this individual be prepared for? Alternatively, what kind of competency should be developed? Over what time span? You know, there may be competencies they need to develop that are going to take time. It's not like, oh, they're going to go to a class and all of a sudden they'll be transformed. But they need opportunities not only to learn in a classroom setting, but then to use and apply those in a real life setting. So you've got to ask this too. What are the individual's career plans and objectives? This is absolutely essential. If you don't know what the millennials in your business want to do with their careers, you need to find out. You need to sit down and chat with them about it. You need to ask, where is it that you'd like to be in the next 3 to 5 years? Do you want to be involved in this organization? And if you do, where would you like to aspire to? What learning objectives should guide the individual's development? That's question 3. Question 4, by what methods and strategies may the objectives be met? And then question 5, how can the relative success of each learning objective be measured? You need to put a talent development plan in place for every single person in your organization that you'd like to move forward. Okay, so I've been talking here for a little bit of time. I've given you a bunch of information. What questions do you guys have at the moment? Any questions from anyone or any feedback or input? What have you learned? What have you noticed? What would you like to share? All right, Kevin does not have any questions, but he thinks we're doing awesome here. Well, that's great. Thank you, Kevin. I want to share with you now, appreciate thinking of them as equal. Yeah, see, Jim, yeah. Jim said he appreciates us thinking of millennials as equal people. Again, let me encourage you. If you're complaining about millennials, you need to stop. You just need to stop. In every generation, there's people who are go-getters. There's people who are awesome. There's people who suck. That's just life, man. We're talking about human beings here. Your job, if you're a boomer or a Gen Xer, is just to make sure that you know where millennials are coming from as far as their communication styles, as far as some of the values that they have. You've got to understand that values do change. Again, like I said, millennials are less religious. They're less patriotic. They're more what people would call tolerant. And it's so important that you understand what it is that they want in as far as their career is concerned, and then focus in on that. Yeah, that's what you said, Mike. Yeah, Mike, thanks for that. The most interesting part is the millennial goals in their jobs. Yeah, so that's the thing. So millennials, you know, I tell you, you're going to be hard-pressed to find a lot of millennials who want to put 80 hours of work in a week. Okay, now there's those of them are out there, but you're going to be hard-pressed to find those folks. If you can find them, that's great. But you've got to understand that people have more aspirations than just grinding through 40 years with a company. And think about this as well. If you're a millennial today and you're in your 20s, it's very likely you're going to live well into your 80s or your 90s. And, you know, with the state of Social Security and things like that, you may not be retiring until you're into your 70s or your 80s. And as a result of that, you've got a long time to develop. And you've got to have that perspective. If you're a boomer or a Gen Xer and you're in your 50s and 60s, you're thinking, I'm about done here. But the guys that you're working with who are millennials, they're going to be involved for many, many, many years. So you've got to really focus in the way that you communicate and the aspirations that people have. So let me tell you a secret, though. This is the secret as far as finding millennials in your organization. And I really believe this is just a little insight that you can use. If you do have a challenge finding millennials who are willing to commit and to really give you their very best and who are able to receive feedback and don't need constant hand-holding, I want to encourage you to look for folks who've been involved in competitive sports. Okay? Competitive sports. And the reason why is because a lot of millennials are seen to be narcissistic and entitled, and they're all focused upon themselves. I've found over the years, as far as coaching is concerned and working with millennials, that many of them who are involved in competitive sports, they understand the importance of working hard. If they're any good, I mean, especially if they played at a college level, they understand how to work hard on their own. And they're not necessarily looking for participation certificates. They're looking to win. So competitive sports can be a very good source for people in your organization. Now, obviously, it's not the only one. You can look for other areas, perhaps things like being a musician or something like that. All I'm saying is this: when you're looking at millennials, look for folks who've done hard things early in their life or who have been through challenging times, and don't expect just by the mere fact of showing up that they're going to get rewarded. Okay, those are the things that you need to look through. And as far as the future of your business is concerned, I encourage you, use internship programs and use programs in the university and the high school level to really begin to cultivate relationships with those millennials that are up and coming that you can then impact your organization with as you move forward. Okay, so the 7 steps. You got to get that leadership buy-in. You got to future cast. You got to clarify your purpose and your values. You need to take that talent inventory. And I encourage you, man, the next 90 days, take that inventory. Once you think about where is it that we're going, once you're clear on who you are and what values drive your business, take that inventory and begin to put together talent development plans for the up-and-comers in your organization. And then you've got to train to narrow the gap. That's step 6. Okay, and there's many different ways that you can train. You can send them to seminars. You can do the mentorship. You can have them read books. You can get them one-on-one coaching. You can have them go through leadership development programs. You can bring leadership development programs in-house. But whatever you're doing, you must evaluate the results. That's step 7. And let me encourage you, don't just send people to classes and hope that stuff is going to change. What I encourage you to do is when you send someone to some sort of leadership development program, then what I encourage you to do is to make sure that they bring it back and they use and apply the information in a practical way in a 90-day sprint. A 90-day sprint to use and apply the information to see how well they can then use it in their business, in the business, and make sure that they're developing as individuals. Okay? All right, so now it's time to get to work. It's time to get to work. Think about the future casting. You need to go through the trends and the responses and the impact that that's going to have in your organization. I encourage you, do the talent ranking as we've discussed. Take that talent inventory. Think through the talent development. And then you got to put it all together. Where do you want to go? Where are you now? And what's standing in your way? And the reason I put the infinity sign up here is because as far as talent development is concerned, attracting, developing, and retaining millennials, it's something you're going to be doing for the rest of your business life. And so you've got to get to work. You've got to start making steps and moving forward as far as implementing talent development and retention and attraction in your business. So Patton says this: a good plan violently executed today is far better than a perfect plan tomorrow. If you suffer perfectionitis, you got to get over it, okay? Don't look to be perfect. Look to be active. Take action, and as soon as you take action, you'll get a response to that action, and you can adjust as you move along. But always remember, a good plan violently executed today is far better than a perfect plan tomorrow, okay? So keep in mind the purpose of your business. Money, power, recognition, being a role model, building a great company, leaving a legacy. You want this. Other people want this to one degree or another. Understand that as human beings, we all have the same essential needs and desires. Our values may differ from one generation to the next. Our communication styles may differ, but essentially we are human beings. Okay? So be willing to drop the mask, ditch the dude, and kill the bear. So the question is what's next? Well, there's what I like to say is the easy way and the hard way. The hard way is doing this all yourself. Okay, going through each one of these steps. Now, it can be done, but it is a difficult thing to do. The easier way, or the easy way, is to get help. And that's why I'm here, is to help you. Okay, and there's 3 ways that I can help you as far as your business is concerned. Number 1, I have a 4-week online foundation program where we go through a variety of different topics around attracting, developing, and retaining talent. We're going to get clear on the purpose and personality of your business, the strategic direction of your organization, and an evaluation of your talent. We're going to dive into that in more detail. I also have the Profitable Business Forum, which is a 12-month forum. We meet once a month in person for 2 to 3 hours with other executives and company owners, and once a month via webinar. It's for companies in Northern California. If you'd like to fly into Northern California, you're welcome to. I run the Profitable Business Forum out of Sacramento, easy to get to. And it's a 12-month course focusing on succession and exit planning, which has a lot to do with attracting, developing, and retaining talent. And then, of course, I have customized one-on-one programs for a variety of different companies where we focus on the purpose, the personality, the people, the plan, and the priority of their organization. So there's 3 different ways that you can get help as far as your business is concerned. So let's talk. The next step for you is to book in a 10-minute call with me. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I am going to, you see the links right here, and I'm going to see if I can chat those into the box. So let me just get out of this right here, and I'm going to grab the link, and you can book a 10-minute call in with me because we want to spend some time together figuring out if there's a fit as far as this is concerned. So check out that link, and then I'm also going to chat in the link for the PDF for the workbook and the slides, as I promised. I appreciate you hanging with me through the 60 minutes here. Let me see if I can get that in there. Nope, that's not it. Hold on. Oh, maybe I did. Did I get it in there? I think I did. Let me see. I got that one. Oh, let me get this one more here. Hold on. Okay, as I'm doing this, what questions you guys have? Questions? Comments? We got about 10 minutes here. I appreciate you taking the time. All right, there you go. So there's both the links right there. And questions or comments? Anyone have anything they'd like to share or anything that they'd like to ask? Okay, we've got a question from Bobby here. Do millennials prefer working with each other in contrast to working with the older generations? You know, it's a funny thing, Bobby. It's a great question here. As far as that's concerned, from what my experience, millennials really like working with people who are older than them. They value the impact that those folks can have on them, and they also value the impact they can have as far as, you know, things like communicating technology differences and stuff like that. I think you just need to get them in the mix together and really see how that can impact them, okay? So yeah, I think it's something where millennials, they're not snobby. That's one thing I get with millennials is they're not snobby. And then Matt asked the question here. This is a good question here. Let me pull it up here, Matt. Do you have a proven process to address and correct unearned entitlements? Matt, I'm assuming that by that you mean the fact that they feel that they're entitled to stuff as they walk in the door. What I would encourage you to do, Matt, is to make sure as they walk in the door that they have clear direction and clear instruction as far as what it is they need to do in order to get the recognition that they're looking for, and then hold them accountable for that. And that's a real challenging thing because some folks, Matt, are you know, they do have that entitled attitude to them. They've gotten participation trophies all their lives, and that can be a challenge. So that's one of the reasons why you want to look for people who aren't content with the participation trophies, and then also just be crystal clear on what it is that they need to do in order to achieve the recognition that they're looking for. Okay? Let's see here. I want to see if there's other questions. Did that answer your question at least a little bit there, Matt? All right. Aaron asked, our experience is millennials don't like bosses. Is that your experience? Aaron, I think millennials will respect people who can relate to them. In my work with millennials over the years, you have to do your best as a leader to adapt to them without compromising your values. And this is one of the great things about leadership. Your role as a leader is to do everything you can to adapt yourself to them, as opposed to insisting that they adapt to you. Now, of course, you don't compromise your values in doing that. But what you do is you make sure that you are becoming all things to all people, as opposed to insisting that they become more like you, if you know what I mean. I think that's very, very important as a leader, is that you're willing to adapt to others. I got a question here from Kevin. Do you see most millennials only being as employee or their own side businesses? Yeah, Kevin, what I would say is that there's a variety. I think it's just across all organizations. All people. There's some people who are just go-getters and they want to start companies. There's some people who are wanting to do a little bit on the side. It really depends. But I think that it's sort of true across all organizations and all generations that you're going to have some people who are really willing to start their own businesses and other people who are willing to be, just a cog in the machine, so to speak. We got a question here from Crystal. How do you deal with deadwood deeply lodged in the upper levels? Crystal, I tell you, if there's someone in your business who you think you should have fired 6 months ago, then you should do that, okay? You need to obviously get your ducks in a row as far as HR is concerned. But one of the things I say to my clients quite often, when we're discussing someone and they're complaining, whether it's a millennial or a Gen Xer or a baby boomer, they're complaining that they should have got rid of someone. I ask them, if you haven't got rid of them in the next 30 days, do I have your permission to yell at you? And I have yelled at my clients. I've yelled at them saying, why haven't you got rid of this person if this person is not a good fit for your organization? Okay, so the deadwood at upper levels, it's difficult, it's challenging. You've got to be willing for other people at the upper levels to step into the roles and take over some of their responsibilities, but don't let that deadwood stick around. Okay, Kevin had a couple of other things. Let me just see if there's a couple of other questions. Crystal is trying to fire you. Yeah, Matt, Crystal might be trying to fire you. You're not deadwood, Matt. You got a lot to offer, man. Office structure hierarchy, Fernando, good question here. I think that you've got to be kind of flexible here. I think it's good to have a good office structure and hierarchy, but in that hierarchy, and this goes back to what I was saying earlier about adapting yourself, the leaders of the organization need to be willing to be open to people's input, because unlike baby boomers who sort of have a military mindset, the millennials don't have a military mindset. That is, they're not just going to say yes sir, no sir. Right? They're going to question. They're going to want to give input. They're going to have ideas that they want to share. And really, people work harder for their ideas than they do for your ideas. And if you're running across mature millennials, if you give them an opportunity to make contribution, even if their ideas are not taken, then they're much more happy to be involved and commit to the direction of the organization if they've had some input into the conversation in the first place. So that's one of the things I really talk about with my clients as well, is making sure that everyone gets input. Okay. All righty, guys. Well, we're right up here at 4:57. Man, I love this. We start on time. We end on time. I'm not seeing any other questions here. So if you'd like to grab a 10-minute conversation with me, you're welcome to do that. Maturity in millennials is quite a challenge these days. Yeah, Twyla, it can be. And again, maturity was a challenge for many people. And I think one of the things, let me just say this, Twyla, one of the things with millennials is because they are maturing later, many of them, right? They're not getting married at 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. They're maturing later. They're much closer with their parents. They do take time sometimes to mature. Keep in mind, these guys are going to be working for a long time. So be patient with them as long as they're not violating the values of your business, as long as they're making a good contribution. Be patient, because the immature 25-year-old may become the mature 28-year-old or 29-year-old who can really have a huge impact in your business. Okay, 4:58, guys. I am going to let you guys go. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. Book in that 10-minute conversation. In the 10-minute conversation, we're going to talk about where you are now, where you want to be, the roadblocks that are in your way between where you are now and where you want to be, and you'll go away from that 10-minute conversation really excited about taking your business forward. Of course, you're welcome to download the documents. You're welcome to use those. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. You have my contact information, eric@ericanderton.com. And I'm here for you guys, and I appreciate you taking the time. So I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm going to wish you all well. Thanks very much.